Hello everybody, Robert Marzullo here, and today I want to go through how to come up with clean comic book artwork in a series of stages, or three. You can use more, but it's totally up to you. So what I'll do is show you how I go about this process. We'll just do, for simplicity, a comic book face, or face. And, I've explained this before, how I kind of go about the construction lines of the face, position of the neck, shoulders, and this is all going to be kind of quick and sketchy. You want to keep your initial rough drawing very loose and fluid, and I got to remember to throw in my guides, because after a while you get to where you don't even feel that you need them, which you probably shouldn't, but it is a sign that you're getting more confident with your work to kind of just start throwing stuff in there and skipping steps. So okay, so throw in some eyes here, position of the eyebrows, nose, mouth, and we'll just make this a basic kind of expressionless, nothing too hard here. More to explain the process. Okay, so you can see this is just the rough stage of the face drawing here, and then what you want to do is, with layers or with a light table, with whatever your preferred method is. I'm digital now, so I use a tablet, and just kind of use layers, and any software, or almost every software that's for drawing, is going to give you layers at this point. I mean, shoot, I think even the free ones do. So whatever your preference is, just use that. But the beauty of the layers is right here. So let me finish. Let me give her some hair real quick. Good rule of thumb when you're drawing hair is think of it like flowing ribbons, kind of swirling around the object and draping across areas that it touches. So, if the hair swirls down here, hits the shoulder, maybe it flows back, just things like that. And little flicks of hair here and there, make it look more interesting. Okay, almost there. And sometimes I'll sketch in real loose lines of where I want the light source to be on the hair. Okay, so there's our basic initial sketch. A little shadow under the neck, or under the chin there, on the neck. Okay, so now with that, we're going to go ahead and take this, duplicate that layer, because I kind of want to show you the process and how much more refined it gets. So I'll show you each one in succession here. Okay, so here's our next layer. We're going to dull this down. Now I started off with this greenish color, pencil color. Pick whatever you like. I just pick something that's light enough where my next layer is going to show up real well over top, but the lines aren't too much where they're distracting. I'll usually zoom in for each additional layer just a little bit, so that I feel that I'm getting a little bit more refined with each drawing. So now I'll switch this to a black pencil, and I'll even size it down just a hair. And then now I'll think more in terms of trying to refine my lines a bit, designating my light source a little bit more. As I go. And probably for the hair, probably a bit larger lines to begin with. And remembering not to try to draw every strand, keeping with the ribbon effect, but also using thicker lines that break off into small ones to kind of define it by bulk, or how do I explain that? Just not trying to draw every strand, more trying to draw them as clumps. I don't want to say clumps, but grouped up shapes of hair. And then the only details is when you, like right there, you want to kind of draw the little flick of hair off like that, and then it's going to give you a little bit more detail to show that, and then a few lines where you bring off your shading. And if that made any sense. So just like that, and just like anything else, just try it a bunch of different ways and see what sticks for you. I'm doing what I feel works for me. I show a little bit of the part right here, but I don't get overly detailed into that area, because to me that comes out looking kind of funky in itself if you get overly detailed and shady right in that where the hair is supposed to part. So and then that's probably about the max amount of detail that I would put into the hair. The rest would be blocks of shading in black and maybe a few lines, but really not drawing any more of the hair. The rest from that point on would be shading. Okay, so now into the face here. Light lines on the female face to make it more sensual or feminine, I guess. You don't want to have a bunch of bold, thick lines on her face. It doesn't look nice. Alright, so eyes can be tricky. And it seems like from everybody that I've studied that does really good eyes, they use the solid, thick lines to define the shape of the eye. Like that. A few thin lines that come off to make the other defined lines of the eye. And very little eyelashes in the comic book drawings. You see some that some comic artists that kind of draw a few more eyelashes, but you'll notice they don't. A lot of, or the majority don't. That a lot of them kind of do that right there, where it's more of a solid shape. And I think it's for a couple reasons. One, when you back away from this drawing, you're going to lose those really little lines. So you have to think in terms of, I mean, you want your fine lines for details, especially in pinup splash pages, things like that, but you have to always be keeping in mind, okay, if I draw a line this size and it gets reduced 2 times or whatever, I'm going to lose that. So why am I wasting the time? Why am I drawing that in there? Unless the information is very needed. Cross-hatching is the only thing I can think of, and you still have to be mindful of what cross-hatching will disappear when it's reduced, especially because you can spend a lot of time cross-hatching. So if it's unnecessary, then you've just wasted time, and time is money. So more time's the one thing we don't get any more of, so why waste it? So that's my wise words for the day. So okay, you see, I'm taking my time. I'm not sketching nearly as fast, but I'm trying to get this more refined because that's how I would go about drawing my comic here. And with each layer I would try to refine it and smooth it out more. Now like I said, I'm only going to carry this to 3 layers, pretty much rough, pencils, and then inks, or ink, or whatever, digital ink. So I'm not going to spend a tremendous amount of time. If there's a certain scene though that I'm trying to get to look really cool, or what I think looks cool, I might even go up to 4 or 5 layers. So if I'm really trying to finesse it and get it just right. But in this case, for speed and it being more of a simple drawing, I'm just going to go ahead and do 3 layers to show you what I'm talking about. I mean, even still, it's probably going to be you know, I don't know, 15-20 minute video, and I know people don't like to sit through very long videos on this YouTube stuff, so, oh, and there I go shading the hair when I said I wouldn't. And actually the only reason I'm doing that is I want to see more shadow come from this area of the drawing to make her face stand out more. I just kind of noticed that as I was sketching, so. And put a small shadow here. And remember not to overshadow their faces either. You'll notice in comics, at least superhero comics, maybe not um, grittier style comics, but American superhero, I guess, if you were calling it that kind of classification, you'll notice they hardly ever shadow on the faces. Some artists do, but it's more typical for them not to. I mean, they do very little shading on the faces in a lot of the books that I've been studying, but teach their own. So, okay, and almost there. So, fill in the eye here. Shadow to the right, highlight to the left, keeping with the lighting that we want to do there. Okay, so hopefully from this point you can see a large difference from the one I started with, my rough sketch, and hopefully you can see some areas where I tried to make improvements, add details, like even this right here, the little wrinkles in the clothes. Um, each time trying to bring out another level of clarity to the image, uh, picking which lines I want to keep, which lines weren't important, and to do away with them, where to add some shadows, stuff like that. So okay, let's go ahead and move on to the last layer now, the inks, and I think I'd call that a decent base. Nothing too great, but nothing I would totally throw in the garbage, I guess. And I'm having some zoom issues. Okay. Alright, so now let's go ahead and take these, move them around a bit. Where are we at here? Actually, I'll just take both these, move them up. And I'll take that last layer, duplicate this now, bring that down, and I'm now going to convert that to a blue line, and I'm going to ink over top of this real quick. And when I say real quick, I mean not that quick, because I'm not insanely fast at inking, but let's see what we can do here. Okay, oh, I gotta add one more layer, sorry. Okay, good to go. So now, as an inker, I gotta think in terms of where to bring out the thicker lines, the thinner lines, convey depth with these lines, and where to add shadowing, and basically bring this drawing to life. And again, thinking in terms of what will work with a reduced size. So it's probably always a good idea to zoom in and out of your work to see what's actually looking good and what sticks, or what should stick, what you should keep, I guess. And one really cool thing about digital inking, you got to keep in mind that you can always come back and draw with white too, where it's you can still do that in traditional methods, but not nearly as convenient. So I'm a big fan of that. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here a bit because I feel like these lines are coming out really nasty. So there we go, a little better. You'll notice I didn't fill in a lot of shadows that I'm going to go ahead and place into the hair. I'm just going to kind of wing it, I guess. But for speed's sake, that's how I do it. I probably would draw in a little bit more detail into this character if I was expecting it to go to published form or be in my Blackstone comic or whatever. I would definitely take a little bit more time to get it refined. So, but sometimes you got deadlines too. You know, even though I'm self-publishing, it's something that I have to be aware of the time that it takes to produce stuff. So sometimes you have to let it fly through anyways. And I don't know, it might suit your art style. If you're the type of artist that can just put it down and be happy with it, then you might want to mess around and find your various levels of how much detail you would put down before you'd go right to your inks. It might suit your style and your speed. So it's kind of a mix in there of what you're trying to accomplish. Alright, now this part of the hair, I'm looking at it like it's part of this entire little section that I've been drawing. Now I want to kind of have this part flip up and almost like it's rotated from the direction it was taken from the part there. It gives a little bit more style to the hair. This one like rotated back. And I like this this pen setting um, where it's thick to thin lines just by various pressure. That's you want to get your pen settings just right for that. And there's not going to talk too much about software because there's so many of them, but I've tried a variety of them, and they all do have it once you have a tablet and once you uh, get it figured out as how to make custom brushes, how to change your settings. Um, I mean, shoot, there's even free ones that are pretty darn impressive at this point. So don't think that, oh, I got to buy this fancier version. I got to have this top dollar one, because in all reality, I'm not going to name names, but there's a couple that you spend a fair amount of money on that aren't as good as a free one I can think of. So, you know, if you want to know what I'm talking about, you can message me. But really, just do your research. 'Cause I use a few of them now, and I think they're all pretty capable once you get past the architecture of the software. I think some of them have a little bit too much in the way of just letting the artist create, and I believe that's what they mean when they say whether or not they're intuitive. And there's definitely a big difference. Some of them are very pricey, and they look like they have all these bells and whistles, but then just for simply drawing, they're almost a little bit too advanced, and they distract the artist from doing what the intent is, which is to draw, to not think about it other than all your practice before that should kick in somewhat instinctively. So you shouldn't have to focus on what the software is doing, and if you do, that's going to take away from your instinct of your illustration and what you're trying to, you know, do there. You just want to be able to focus on creating. So that's my 2 cents on that. And like here with their cheek line, you know, you want to try to put a nice heavier weight on the bottom of it or to the side of it. Maybe thin it down to here, and then another, oh, even though it's an ugly line, hold on. And another thicker weight down here. And just that line variation, even though it's an ugly cheek line, I got it too flat to here. That line variation really makes the illustrations come to life. So that's what you want to focus on, is figuring out just right where you want to put that thicker and thinner line set up. Like to me it needs to thin out a little bit more down here. I don't think with that a little more. Actually, I'm going to rotate the screen here a bit. Get this line. And you might even be able to thin it down real far here. Keeping in mind too that the shadow of lines under the neck, or on the neck from under the chin, are going to kick in, so that might look cooler against this thinner line there. Or it may not. I can switch it either way, but I'm going to try that. And back here you're going to see a lot less light, so I'm going to fill that in. And same thing to here. And then this also, by blocking this in somewhat solid, and this is ugly here. I'm just doing this because I really don't want this video to be this long, so I'm going to speed it up a bit now. So I'll block it in like that, and then break off into thinner lines and more white, and then that'll obviously make it look like there's more shadowing if the hair is recessing back in space right there. You can break some lines out like this, some down like this. Okay. Alright, and I'm going to just kind of sketch a little bit faster here now, just to get this sucker done. And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to add a little bit of highlights without getting too much shadow on this side of the head, because to me the light source is coming from this way. So if anything, my harder lines are going to be right here. And making sure I don't go just straight across the head with the lines like this, because it looks very bowl cut or whatever. You want to, make sure you don't just place this bowl shape around the character's head. And probably bring some of the thicker lines from that. More shadow on this side. Okay, let's hurry up and get to the face here. And on this part I'm actually staying zoomed out just a little bit, because another fear factor of mine with digital is that you can get in the habit of zooming in too much and spend way too much time on something that you might not, again, back to the line weight and thickness and size that we're talking about. You might spend a ton of time on something that you're not even going to see. And so it's a hard mix with that. We're working on traditional medium, you can tell. I mean, you can look at a piece of paper and go, oh, this is going to be half that size or whatever, and yeah, this isn't going to work in this area. But with digital, it's extremely hard to kind of pinpoint that. At least for me, anyways. I don't know. So maybe there's a technique out there that I need to learn as far as that goes. But the one that I try to focus on is just zooming in and out, and then looking at the page relation on the screen but it's a little bit more difficult, and it's easy to lose sight of that and just spend way too much time, especially if you're getting really into a piece of art and you're having a good time with it. You can definitely lose sight of some details that you're adding that might not show up later. Okay. I've noticed, especially with like manga and a lot of drawing styles, the eyelids, eyelashes are just drawn in very thick. Like this is probably nowhere near thick enough, but it's getting there. A little. I don't want to make them too crazy either, but it seems to be more popular anymore. And again, it stands out really well when you shrink the character down. Okay. Small shadow under the nose, nothing too dramatic. And let's see, eye. That. And forgive me, this isn't the greatest face here. I'm just kind of trying to show you something. And sorry for the length of the video. I actually didn't mean for it to be this long. I could sketch this faster. I probably should have speed lapsed the video and then voiced over. So on the future ones like this, that's what I'll do. Then it'll at least make the drawing appear faster. So because this is in real time and it's gotten a bit lengthy, but hopefully it's helped you see something in the process and the way that I draw this too, though. So that's why I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with it. His lips look horrible, but with some color, they will look fine. Okay, bring this shadow down a little bit more. Alright, now I'll zoom back, and yeah, the eyelids could even be a bit larger. And actually, the eye to the right is tilting up. I'm gonna just say that that's okay for now. I'll just thicken these eyelashes a little bit more. Maybe she's just, it's a very exotic look. That's all it is. Her eye's not crooked, she's exotic. Yeah, it's a little better. And yeah, they could still probably be even a bit thicker. It's the main thing that you pay attention to, the size relation to all this. So, all right, so I'm gonna just finish this up real fast. So hopefully this give you a better understanding of how I go about digitally drawing these characters and kind of refining them as I go. And again, with the layers, you really can use as many as you feel comfortable with. Maybe two's the magic number for you, maybe three. But you see the difference of what I was able to accomplish from the original sketch, which looks pretty mucky and crazy, but it gives me an idea of where I'm taking it. The more refined drawing over here, and then down to some finished inks. So hopefully this helped you out and you enjoyed it. So let me know what you think and leave me in the comments of what you'd like to see in the future. I will try to keep improving these videos and getting you information that helps you grow as an artist. And be sure to follow me on DeviantArt, Ram Studios 1 on DeviantArt.com, and also follow the production of the Blackstone comic book. That's a comic book that I'm self-publishing at this point, unless something else happens, and trying to just get it out there and get everybody's opinion and move forward, and mainly progress in the art of creating comics. So that's what I'm here for. So let me know if you need anything, and take care and keep drawing. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.